Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me, I've got Hoops. How you doing?
What's going on, man? Overall, I've been doing pretty okay, I will say, just getting through in life. And honestly, work was a pretty crazy week. It was like really busy and a lot of responsibilities that had to be done, but overall, got through it. So that that's what matters at the end. Aside from that, nothing too crazy going on, just regular life routine. Um, how you doing, man?
I'm surviving. This was the first week of the master's program, so I had a couple long days on campus. Like Mondays and Wednesdays are the longest, where our morning starts off with like a 4 hour class. We get like a 30-minute break, and then we do a 3 hour class right after. And then after that, I like force myself to go to the gym right after, which it's something that I need to do, but not want to do. So I have like a 12-hour day basically from waking up at like, or from leaving the house at like 7 to getting home at like 8. It's long, and I've got a lot of homework, but I'm very excited. I like my classmates. I've been making friends. I've been talking to new people. It's been cool. It's been cool on that aspect. I even got to work a couple times this week, which is gonna be a lot more rare moving forward. Which that part I'm not happy with because I need money and money is awesome, but I'm not making money, so I still need to figure out that job situation that we talked about last week. But I don't want to delve into that. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. I was thinking about waiting till like after we record to talk about it, but might as well let you know now that for context, we both went to the same university. So what our university does every spring, they do a spring concert. They bring out like pretty cool artists, and we've talked about it on the pod before. How like Quavo didn't show up, and we were ranting about that one year. Uh, who was supposed to show up this year, and
Um,
instead they replaced that person with Nav.
yeah, it was supposed to be Saweetie, and
Saweetie.
then
Okay,
she,
I forgot if it was Saweetie or Lotto. I kind of get mixed up sometimes.
yeah, they're a bit different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for the first time ever, they're doing a fall concert.
Fall concert?
Yeah,
Damn.
yeah, and not gonna lie, I don't know if you'd be interested. Especially with like the first two artists, I'm not really familiar with. Even though I think one of them is a double XL freshman. She's like kind of popping off recently. The other two artists I do vibe with. Actually, it's one artist and one DJ. I sent you the flyer on Instagram. I know you don't really go on Instagram often, but I sent it to you there. But the artists that are gonna be there for the people to know is the Tulips. I'm not familiar with them at all. Samara
Not familiar.
Sin, I think Cyn. I think she is a double XL freshman this year. Like a rapper, singer. Um, cool vibey stuff. The artist that I am pretty interested in that I don't think you know, but I vibe with is Paris, Texas. They're a rap group that like mixes like rap music with like rock and pop. And they went on tour with Tyler. Uh, like this past year, I got to see them when I went to see Tyler earlier this year, and they're pretty cool. I like their music; they're good performers. And then the DJ, um, actually, I talked to you about him earlier this year about how I wanted to go to his DJ set, but I think you were busy or something. It's Zach Fox, if you're familiar with him. I tried explaining who he was a bit ago, if you remember.
I feel like the name sounds familiar, low key.
He's an actor, comedian, rapper, DJ. He does it all. He's on Abbott Elementary. I think that's how you know him.
Oh yeah, this guy. I remember now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember like wanting to go to that concert and not going to, or that DJ set, and now he will be going to Fullerton on October 4th. So like I'm kind of interested, even though
Hmm.
like the first two acts, I don't really care for, but it's maybe I'll learn to like them, right? Like discover new artists, right? But it's really Paris, Texas, and Zach Fox who I'm like excited to see. So I wanted to know if you're like interested at all.
Maybe. Um, is the ticket pricing like practically about the same range as spring or a little bit
I
cheaper?
haven't even looked at
Oh,
that.
okay.
I
Yeah,
would assume
we'll
it'd be around the same, but
probably,
there
right?
are a lot more artists than usual.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely look into it for sure.
Hmm.
Possibility, unexpected for sure.
Very unexpected. That's why I wanted to bring it up because it was a surprise to me. And now that I'm back at school, I'm sure the tickets are gonna be cheaper. But not gonna
That's
lie,
good.
going back to school, I feel old. There's like a lot of like Zoomers and people like making TikToks and they just look like kids. Like now thinking about it, they're like the same age as my youngest sister, around that, because my youngest sister is a senior now, so
I know.
they're basically like her classmates, uh, you know, going to our school, and I feel prehistoric.
It's crazy, honestly. Um, I'm also like barely trying. Well, not trying, but like being forced to accept reality that now we're at getting towards the age range where there's probably gonna be more people that are like younger than us than older than us if they're like in the 20s radius,
Yeah,
because like you see them at, I don't know, um some type of young 20s event, bar, restaurant, for example. You would think that they're around your age, but more times than not, if you think that they're around your age, they're probably actually younger than older. And
uh
it's like,
huh,
damn, I remember the days when I was the youngest one in the um in the house, and now it's like I'm the one of the older ones. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. That's how I feel like at work sometimes. Like there will be like aides or whatever that are younger than me, and like notice I could notice like a stark difference between how I act and how they act, and I feel like I have to be like a, not a mentor, but like I have to guide them a little bit on what to do, because I've been in that role. I did their job at some point, and I'm like older than them. I used to be like the
Yeah.
youngest guy at work for like 3, 4, 5 years, and then everything changed so fast. Uh,
Yeah. I think another funny thing is like, for example, the the new athletes, like NBA draft class, all that.
oh my god!
We're
Don't get
older
me
than all of
started.
we're older than all of them. But back when we first started watching basketball, we were used to them be all being much older than us.
Yeah, like back then in high school, I'm like looking up to NBA players. I can't say that now if they're like younger than me. It's like I'm not gonna look up to a 19-year-old. That's like hell no, no, I'm not doing
Yeah,
that.
imagine it's like my idol is a guy that is 7 years younger than me. No, I'm not gonna
I
do
look up to Cooper Flag
that.
as a grown ass man, turning
Yeah,
27 real soon.
it just feels really like awkward, low key.
Yeah.
And then another thing is like they they're younger than us, but like because they're so fit, it, you it almost seems like as if they're either our age or possibly older.
Hmm.
Yeah. it's kind of funny how things work now, though. Honestly.
Yeah. All right, enough yapping. We've done a lot of chit chatting, and none of it is about basketball. So let's actually talk about basketball during this basketball podcast. I think that makes sense. So today we're actually doing something really exciting. It was popular last year. Hopefully, it's popular again. I'd hate it if we get like 5 views on a video that did a lot better last year. But this year we are running back our position ranking. So in this video, we will be ranking our top 15 NBA point guards, and then next week will be shooting guards, then small forwards, power forwards, centers, and then every position after that. Basically, this is all of this content is just gonna lead us right into the NBA season. It's gonna be a very fun way to transition into a new season by doing all these rankings. I love doing these videos. I love ranking, even though this was pretty hard. Did you have a hard time at all ranking these players?
I think the order was a little bit tricky here and there. Overall, I would say relatively confident in the order I made.
All right, I'm like iffy on my order, but yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's all right. There are stuff that like I try very hard to be unbiased about, and I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess. Should we start off with any honorable mentions that you wanna throw out there?
Yeah, I guess I can go ahead and um, do that. So I think that one of the tricky parts about this episode is considering players that are injured. Like for example, Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's easily a top 15 point guard in the league. But because he's more than likely not going to be playing this season, it makes me wonder like, is he even worthy of being on this list if he's not going to play this year? And that's one of the reasons why I just decided to put him on honorable mention, because he's not going to actually be playing more than likely. Now, if he is playing, probably for sure a top 10, you could argue top 5, maybe. Um, and then I would say another player that I put an honorable mention due to injury, um, Damian Lillard. And I think that the main thing that prevented me from putting him on this list is because another question mark of not knowing how much time exactly he's gonna miss. Um, because like easily would be on this list if he's healthy, I think. But it's it made things a little bit extra tricky due to the fact that we just don't know when exactly he'll be back. And then let's see, another honorable mention. Honestly, I feel like this one was someone that I was like very back and forth, honestly, on like 15 versus honorable mention. Ultimately, I left Derek White off and put him as an honorable mention. I was gonna put him on here, and then ultimately I decided I think I would put someone else instead. So I would say mostly those three guys: Tyrese Halliburton and Dame due to injury, and then Derek White.
Okay,
Um, yeah. Any honorable mentions for you or anything you want to say?
I'll start off by talking about what you did because yeah, that was interesting. So you didn't put the injured players. Did you put Kyrie in there though?
Um, I did because I assumed that he'll come back earlier than those two, probably.
I get technically he would be back earlier, but
Yeah.
there's also a good chance he might miss the entire season though. Like I don't think he's rushing whatsoever.
Yeah.
But
So it's
there is a
definitely
chance he'll be back. You're right.
tricky. Yeah, but I feel like I'm more confident in him coming back than the other
Oh,
two.
for
It just
sure.
seems, yeah, that's why I put him on the list. Yeah.
Okay. I thought about it differently. I thought about like if all these guys were healthy on day one of the NBA season, how would I order them? And so I did add Tyrese to my list. I did add Kyrie. I did add Dame, even though I have my question marks about him a little bit. But he actually had a really solid season last year, looking back at his stats. So even though part of me feels like this is the last time I might add him to the list, um, he deserves to be on the list in my opinion. So I'm very interested now on like who do you have in front of or replacing I guess Tyrese and Dame if they're not there. That has me very curious. Derek White is an honorable mention for me for sure. Um, he's probably the best point guard role player in the league. You could debate like maybe even the best on ball defender as a point guard. I think he's the best like shot blocking point guard as well. I could be wrong, but I think there was a stat going on about that. Um, I have who do I have? LaMelo Ball as a honorable mention. You know, I'm low key starting to think he's just a good stats on a bad team kind of guy. He's fun to watch for sure, but he kind of just chucks it. His field goal percentage isn't anything crazy, and they're not playing real basketball over there in Charlotte, so he's out of the top 15. I said Drew Holiday's a honorable mention, even though like he's kind of just what's the word? He's like becoming washed. He like started to get washed that last season, and he might be washed this upcoming season. But I just threw him a bone. Just shout out to Drew Holiday. I like him. He's a good defender. Fred VanVleet, came through for the Rockets a few times in the playoffs. Even though he could be inefficient and a bad defender, if the Rockets really needed a bucket, he'd try his best to get them a bucket. And then who else? Who else can I throw out there? There was someone I was thinking of, but now I'm drawing a blank. I can't really think of anybody else. But yeah, anybody you want to talk about that I mentioned, or what do you think?
Nothing, nothing too much. Honestly, I would say for the most part, those names were pretty reasonable to at least be worthy of a mention. I will say I was somewhat shocked about Lamelo being honorable mention. I thought maybe he would be on the list, but then again, I could see it though, especially because like we use like different systems once again, kind of like last episode, how we had different criteria. Um, because you listed players based on like if they were all healthy, and I listed players based on like who's expected to play or not.
Uh-huh.
So I could see why Lamelo didn't make the cut because of that. Um, aside from that, I would say for the most part, like Drew Holiday for sure deserves to be having a mention. I kind of almost forgot about him, maybe because of what you said being true, that he's like slightly getting washed up at age a little bit, but still obviously a good role player. Uh, so yeah, for the most part, I would say the list you mentioned was all worthy for sure.
All right, cool. Shout out to TJ McConnell as well. A beast in the third quarter during the finals. Just want to throw him a bone. Throw him a bone. But yeah, okay. I guess we are ready to reveal our top 15 NBA point guards for this upcoming season. And how we usually do it, if you're not familiar, we do it by chunks. So we're going to start off by talking about 15 through 11, and then talk about the next 5, and then the next 5. So I guess we'll reveal that to each other right now. And yeah, as you said, we have different like I don't know, strategies or whatever. I don't know what's the right word, but we thought about this a little differently. But it shouldn't be too different since it's I guess you're missing two people off my list, so there would be two extra. I'm assuming that's on your list that isn't on my list. So I'm curious on who those two people might be. I also have our list from last year pulled up just so we could see some differences, if there are any. Like a big one now is that you don't have Tyrese on your list, but last year you had him in top three, which low key aged perfectly for you. Like with how great his playoff stint and final stint was, you could maybe argue top three for Tyrese.
Yeah. I mean, like, if we were talking regular season, it wasn't looking too good.
Uh huh.
But then came the playoffs, Tyrese and his heroics. So yeah, I would say that did not age too bad.
Right. So I have mine in the doc. All right, our lists have been revealed, and I could see already the two players I didn't have on my list on your list. Honestly, though, like I could see an argument for both of these players. So you want to go over your list first?
Yeah. So for number 15, I got Kobe White. Number 14, Kyrie Irving. Number 13, Jamal Murray. Number 12, Darius Garland. And number 11, LaMelo Ball.
And for me, I've got at number 15 Tyrese Maxey, 14 John Morant, 13 Jamal Murray, 12 De'Aaron Fox, and 11 James Harden. I feel like my list might be controversial, uh, with Ja being this low. I feel like De'Aaron Fox, John Morant, and Tyrese Maxey, due to like a lot of different reasons, not calling them washed at all, but due to a lot of reasons, had to step back this season, like a major step back. So that's why they're this low for me. But yeah, we could talk about each player individually if you'd like. Do you want to go over your list? I think it's very interesting you having Kobe White there. Um, yeah, that's a good shout. He's a really good point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because my list is different. Uh, I could see an argument for Kobe White. Do you want to argue for him?
Yeah. So obviously number 15 was one where I was more iffy on because like barely qualifying the list. So it was ultimately between Kobe White and Derek White. Um Now if you were to compare the two directly, you would probably honestly have a fair point arguing that Derek White has probably done a little bit more and maybe a little bit more versatile overall. But the reason why I chose Kobe over Derek was mostly because last year and the year before, him taking a major leap and him playing for like a rebuilding, well, technically not officially rebuilding franchise, but like a middle of the pack team with technically, yes, a true number one option, but also not like a clear cut number one option, I feel like frees him up a lot more to potentially break loose versus Derek White. He tends to put up great numbers and contribute to a contending team anyway, but because of other superstars on the team, sometimes it's just a little bit more uncertain, like night in, night out, which what are you going to get from him? Overall, obviously, we know Derek White is very capable. And this season, with Tatum out most likely for the entire year, I feel like his role will definitely also increase because then he'll only be behind Jaylen Brown. But ultimately, I just chose Kobe because I feel like due to the team not really having like not having any superstars might give him like more opportunity to break loose. So ultimately, I chose Kobe for that reason over Derek. Um, Kyrie. So once again, if he was healthy, I think he would be definitely higher on this list. And ultimately, we all know, like we mentioned, we don't know when he's going to come back. I do expect him to come back this season. We just don't know when. And that's why I ended up putting him on this list because I feel like he'll definitely come back before Dame and Tyrese, even if he were to come back like later, for example. So we all know what Kyrie is capable of. He's a pretty clutch player, not necessarily the same as when he was younger, but still really damn good. So that's why I had to include him on this list somewhere. Um, Jamal Murray. Now he did take a little bit of a step back last season, but he's still a really good Robin to Jokic. Obviously in the playoffs, he was in though he was a bit inconsistent, he did put up some vintage Jamal Murray playoff performances. And those came out huge. I mean, that was why they were able to get past the Clippers in 7 and then force OKC to 7. Without him, they probably get ended earlier against OKC, honestly. So yeah, safe to say Jamal Murray is still a very efficient player in this league for sure. Um, Darius Garland, you could definitely argue could be higher. Ultimately, I put him here because I think that he is like really he took a pretty good leap last year, and he's really damn good. I feel like he does have a little bit of the consistency issues here and there, but overall, I am a pretty big fan of Garland. He is now a two-time All-Star, I believe, because he made it last year, right? And then he made it the year when it was in Cleveland, so two-time All-Star. And yeah, he's shown that he is getting better and better as the years come by. So had to include him on this list. And then LaMelo Ball, obviously he's one of the players that's like really fun to watch. Unfortunately, he doesn't play for a good team. He plays for a really bad team. And I think earlier what you were saying about like him potentially being like stat padding on a bad team, I could definitely see it. At the end of the day, though, I still think that he's a really good player, and if he was given like the opportunity to play for a better team, I think he could definitely lead. The question is like how far would his leadership go? Because like we all know, like quite frankly, Melo is not necessarily the most mature guy. Um, Obviously, we know like we seem like he can't really talk properly in interviews. Granted, this is the NBA. It's not no damn speech or like law school, but still, we know that like he isn't like necessarily the most mature, and by that means, who knows how good he would lead a contending franchise, right? But overall, I still think that he's worthy to be on this list because he's still really talented when healthy, and definitely also one of the more fun players to watch. And we mentioned last year that for sure he was snubbed of that All-Star because his team was horrible. So this is why I had to put LaMelo on my list. So yeah, that would be my list from 15 to 11.
All right. The only thing that was like weird in my opinion was Lamelo being this high. I could see an argument him over Kobe, but over Kyrie, Jamal Murray, and Damian Garland, I don't think so. It's mostly because of what like you just said. It's like the leadership aspect, his maturity. Like I can't see him leading like a competent team to the playoffs. I mean, he almost did, like his second year in the NBA, something like that. Like he led the Hornets to the play-in. That was actually kind of impressive. But yeah, since then, like he hasn't really done anything. Plus, he's always gets injured, which obviously is not his fault. But It just means that like you can't really trust this guy as your number one guy if he's unreliable for multiple reasons. Um, so that's why I didn't even have him in my top 15, even though like there's an argument for him being there, I guess at 15, but at 11, I'm like almost a top 10 point guard in your opinion. That's actually, when I put it like that, that's actually a little crazy.
I can see where you're coming from, honestly, but
It is what it is. Oh, you also didn't have Tyrese in a Dame on your list, so he wouldn't be close to top 10 if you put them
yeah,
in there.
no.
So okay, now thinking about it like that, okay, it's kind of making more sense. So all right, I guess I'll go over my list. Starting at 15, I have Tyrese Maxey. The stats are good. The stats are decent for Tyrese. 26 points per game, 3 rebounds, about 6 assists. So it's not too bad. But like he kind of got exposed last year as a Embiid merchant. He couldn't really do anything when Embiid was out. He'd have like a lot of inefficient games. So as a number one option, I wouldn't trust him at all. But as a number two option, if everything is going well, he's good. He's a solid player. So, that's why I have him this low. I wonder where I had him last year. I had him pretty high last year. I had him as a top 10 player, number 8. So this is kind of a drastic fall for Tyrese Maxey, but like he really didn't prove to the world that he is ready to be one of the best players in the league or a top 10 point guard in the league, honestly, based on the way that like he had the moment, right? He had Paul George injured all the time, Joel Embiid injured all the time. It was his team, and he couldn't really do anything. So that's why I have him at 15. At 14, I have John Morant. I know that one's controversial, and I know I'm kind of building this reputation of being like a John Morant hater. And I'm not, but like there's a lot of things about John Morant that I do not like. His maturity is terrible, right? Like he ended the year like throwing grenades into the crowd, bazookas, as if he was playing Call of Duty. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be the number one guy in Memphis, and that's slowly turning to be Jaren Jackson Jr.'s job of all people. I don't like Jaren Jackson Jr. either, but he's becoming a better player than John Morant, I feel like.
It's almost like it's like he realized he can't do no gun symbols anymore, so he has to come up with other weapons.
Exactly, he's just trolling. He's not taking his shit seriously whatsoever. He was more mature when he was younger, back when he like gave his most improved player award to Desmond Bain or something. Like that was cool. But now he like clearly doesn't care about basketball. And his play on the court was affected, I guess, by what was their coach's name? Coach Jenkins, the one that got fired.
Taylor Jenkins.
Taylor Jenkins. Okay, yeah. Because of the system he wanted to implement and trying to get Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot more involved, that did affect John Morant's stats quite a bit. So it's not all his fault, for sure. But again, as if I was to pick a point guard, he's definitely not going to be one of my first 10 options. That's for sure. I don't trust this guy. He's either getting himself in trouble, he's getting injured, he's not taking basketball too seriously because he wants to, throw grenades into the crowds and piss off the NBA. I don't want to deal with all that, so that's why John Morant is at 14. At 13 is Jamal Murray, who I could see an argument being lower, honestly, because he has his inconsistency, but he's still like a pretty solid number two guy right beside Jokic. I could trust him more than I could trust John Morant and Tyrese Maxey, honestly, which is kind of crazy to say. You know, this guy's not an all star. He might never be an all star, which would be kind of sad, kind of shocking, but um, I still trust Jamal Murray a bit more than John Morant and Tyrese Maxey. I think he could do his job more efficiently, more effectively, and more consistently than John Murray and Tyrese Maxey. So that's why I have Murray over them. De'Aaron Fox is at my number 12 placement. Uh, he did dip down a little bit for me, but you know it's not his fault entirely. He was injured quite a bit last year. He also got traded from the Kings to the Spurs, so a lot happened for him. Or a lot happened to him last year that affected his game a bit. But you know, I have high hopes for him. I'm sure that De'Aaron Fox will bounce back nicely next year, and maybe will be a top 10 point guard again. I think I had him top 10 last year. Yeah, I did. So I'm sure he'll be top 10 next year as well. And then at 11, I have James Harden, who yeah, I didn't have him on my list last year, even though I did consider him as a point guard last year. I did not have him on my list, but I'm gonna give him his flowers because if it wasn't for him, the Clippers wouldn't be in the playoffs, honestly, because he kind of held the fort when Kawhi was injured, and he is the biggest reason why Ivica Zubac is getting so much praise, honestly, for his offensive game. You know, defensively, it's all Zubac. I'll give him his credit there, but offensively, you know, James Harden has uh, you know, changed his career, honestly. The way that he sets up Ivica Zubac, I know when James Harden first got to the Clippers, the first thing he did was like contact Zubac and worked out with him like one on one in order for them to uh, create a two-man game, and that has led to Zubac playing like a damn near all star. So, uh, because of Harden's playmaking ability and the way that he was able to, you know, man the fort when Kawhi was gone. The fact that he even made the All Star team, even though like I didn't really think he deserved to be an All Star, but you know the fact that he did make it is impressive. Even though I know I have a feeling you're not a big fan of me putting James Harden here. I'm assuming you don't even have him on your list, but you know maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I do think James Harden deserves to be on the list. But what do you think?
Yeah, so I guess I have to play a little bit of a spoiler. No secret that I am not a James Harden fan at all, but I actually, believe it or not, have him a little bit higher than you on the list.
Oh, word.
And
Okay, cool.
and look, this is where I had to set my bias aside. Unfortunately, like I'm not a fan of his, but a lot of the things that you said was definitely true. Like the Clippers, they still make the playoffs without Harden, in my opinion. But he was definitely one of the big reasons that they were able to get as far as they did. And obviously, like Zubats doing really good was also reliant on Harden as well. We'll see about the team this year. The unction over there. Imagine, look, I will say this. If they end up being like the 2021-2022 Lakers retirement squad, I'm definitely going to laugh if they miss the playoffs. That would be great to watch, honestly. But we'll see what happens there. But yeah, even though I don't like him, I will admit he is easily on this list for sure. So yeah, I would say like I can't really say much. A lot of the stuff you said was pretty accurate about him. And as far as your list goes, I would say most of these guys I have higher, um, Jamal Murray we have at the exact same spot though, so at least we were on the same page there. Um, and then I think what you said about John was definitely very reasonable as well, because like his maturity issues is definitely really concerning. I would say if we're talking about like as his basketball talent, I would put him in the top 10. But I would understand like the concerns of his like off court issues and his character that would be leaving him off on your side. So yeah. Personally, I would say the main thing I have is really on Jaw, honestly. Aside from that, most of these other ones, pretty pretty understandable. I do have De'Aaron higher also, but I feel like the range that you put him isn't necessarily that bad though.
Alright, sounds good. I guess we can move on and jump into the next chunk. Very curious on who do you have next. Okay. There we go. I'm gonna copy and paste right now. Oh, hold up. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. So, not too bad. Not too bad. I feel like a lot of the people on our list are very similar. So, that's telling me that our top five should be like really, really similar. But I guess we'll see. You want to read over your list?
Yeah. So at number 10, I have Tyrese Maxey. Number 9, De'Aaron Fox. Number 8, James Harden. Number 7, John Morant. And number 6, Trae Young.
And for me, I've got at number 10, Darius Garland. Number 9, Kyrie Irving. Number 8, Damian Lillard. 7, Trae Young. And 6, Cade Cunningham. So I guess you could go first and go over your list, and then we'll discuss about that.
Yeah. So Tyrese Maxey, obviously this season, the last season, he kind of proved like some of us wrong, but not in a good way. And that being like we thought he would be better, especially with Embiid and George injured for a good amount, and he was practically the number one option. But he was definitely a bit of a disappointment, unfortunately, and that was something that prevented him from being higher. Because last year we both put him pretty high on the list. Um, this year we just couldn't really do it. But that being said, I still do think that he is top 10, and overall, it's due to really potential, honestly. We've seen Tyrese at his highest peak, and then we've seen Tyrese like disappoint as well. And I think that I want to say like he could have a chance of redemption, but we'll see. Obviously, like if Embiid and George are both able to stay healthy, maybe his touches will go down a bit, but I'm sure they'll find a way to put him in to contribute. So overall, I say Tyrese still worthy of being in the top 10. Um, Obviously, barring like Halliburton not being on due to injury. Um, Number 9, De'Aaron Fox. So I think that the main reason why I put De'Aaron pretty high here is because of how like ridiculously clutch he is, like late game situation. Like last season, doesn't like late game clutch shots he had was like really fun to watch and all that. Um, and then also he had that, what was it, like 50 points 2 nights in a row or something like that. That was also really cool to see. Also, him and Wemby are definitely going to be a nice pairing for years to come. And with Stefan Castle also, yeah, sign me up. Anyways, De'Aaron Fox definitely pretty big fan of his. I was definitely glad that he was able to force his way out of Sacramento because he's finally away from poverty franchise. The fact that the Kings had both De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton and got rid of both of them and now they're saying they need a point guard. I wonder why. Yeah. This is why the Kings only made one playoff appearance in 20 years, man, which was practically a lucky year. But
What a
yeah,
poverty franchise.
poverty franchise making the state of California look bad. um, but yeah, De'Aaron Fox definitely worthy of being on this list, period, for me in the top 10. Um, and that leads to James Harden, number 8, which I talked about a little bit. Obviously, not a fan of his at all. I think that he is just um, obviously flops, diva, foul baiting, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, his talent just couldn't be denied here. I had to set my bias aside for the sake of making this list. Obviously, the Clippers are a pretty good team even without him, but with him, clearly a difference was shown, um, making guys around him better. Zubats, obviously, as you mentioned, he was one of the main beneficiaries. And we will see how that team can now align being the new oldest team in NBA history. Um, but yeah, Harden, even though I'm not a fan of his, had to be on this list.
Wait, oldest
Um,
team in NBA history? Is that true?
I think that's what I heard, yeah,
Oh, that's
which
insane.
it is. But I can see it, honestly. I mean, like, um,
Who's the youngest
there,
guy there? Bradley Beal. He's like 31, 32.
Bradley
Oh,
Beal,
there's John Collins. Yeah, he's definitely younger, but
yeah. I don't know who they're yet. I mean, they're rookie,
yeah, I'm sure the
whoever they
rookies
drafted.
too. Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
But
like
as an
yeah, their roster,
average, they're
yeah, it's
old.
pretty. I forgot what it was. It might have been like 34 or 33 or some shit like that. Um, because it's like the main guys are really old, like um, Chris Paul, Kawhi, Harden, Bradley Beal, Nicholas Batum, also
Brooke Lopez.
Brooke Lopez. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Zubas is okay, I guess, but like still not young though.
Yeah, he's in his 30s, is he?
He was drafted in 2016, so 9 years later, maybe like late 20s or early 30s. I don't know.
Maybe.
I feel like he might have been 19 when he was drafted, so
Oh yeah.
maybe it'd be like 28 now. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, nonetheless, I think that's what I heard. Oldest in history, which is crazy. So on paper, their team is looking good, but we will see if the old age gets to them, kind of like that Lakers team in 21-22 did. I mean, it would be nice if our pain gets spread to a team that we don't like. um, but yeah, um, moving on now, number 7, John Morant. So this last year, so I think that one of the things when making these point guard lists is I tend to have Trae Young and John Morant in like a pretty close range. Last year, I put Ja one ahead of Trae. This year, I just think that Trae is worthy of being higher. But let me say this though. John Morant, I think that he's still a really damn good player when healthy. And he's still one of the more fun players to watch. Um, Obviously, those injuries made him. I feel like the explosiveness is definitely still there, but he also needs to be more cautious due to the injuries he had. And then, obviously, as you mentioned, like the maturity, he needs to work on for sure. And it does sound pretty accurate that like he was more mature when he was younger, which is pretty funny. I mean, like instead of getting more mature with age, he's getting less mature with age. Come on now. Um, so I could understand you like not wanting him on your team because of those maturity issues. At the end of the day, I feel like as a basketball player, um, he's just still really fun and really damn good to watch. So I had to include him in the top 10. Um, Trey Young. So I feel like the thing about these two guys is they're similar ish while also different. And that being like they are good contributors to their team as floor generals. Obviously, Trey is more of a 3-point shooter as opposed to an athlete. And then, yes, his defense isn't necessarily great, but his offense though, and his ability to make his teammates better, I feel like that alone just I had to put him pretty high on the list, just barely out of the top 5. So that would be my list from 10 to 6.
All right, honestly, it's not too bad. Our biggest discrepancy is John Morant. You have him a lot higher than me, but I am like low key hating, but like a lot of the things that I complained about him last year, right? His like lack of 3-point shooting is still like a thing. So yeah, uh, I don't know what to say. Like I, mm, yeah. Oh, I guess it's a agree to disagree kind of situation for John Morant. But yeah, I remember last year I thought it was really tough choosing between Trey Young and John Morant, and now it's not even like close to me. Trey Young is clearly better to me, even though he has his issues as well. But honestly, looking at your list, it's not too bad. Like a few of these guys are around the same range that I put them as well. Like Trey Young is close to where I put him. James Harden, you have him higher than me, but you know what? Just take it. This is growth on your part. This is growth. So if you want to put him this high, go right ahead. I I like to see the growth. So, yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. And so yeah, I'll just go over my list. So at number 10, I do have Darius Garland. He's just a very solid number 2 scoring option over there in Cleveland. Not the best defender. That definitely is not, great, especially if you have him paired with Donovan Mitchell, who is also not the best defender. They're both kind of on the smaller side, so that's not good. But like, this guy can get a bucket. He's a good, efficient shooter. Some of the best handles in the game as well. You could argue Darius Garland to be lower for sure, but to me, I feel like he deserves to be a top 10 point guard, especially after having such a bounce back season last year. So yeah, Darius Garland is 10. For me, Kyrie Irving is number 9, who, half the season he was a solid number 2 guy right beside Luka, and then when Luka got traded, he did like show flashes of like, oh, number 1 Kyrie is actually like a beast, right? He was the number 1 option for a little bit, and he had flashes of like his prime like solo days back in Cleveland. So I had to put a little bit of respect on that. Obviously, he got injured. Obviously, he's older. So, that's going to affect his play moving forward. But, yeah. I believe... Let me double check here. Okay, I didn't have Kyrie as a top 10 point guard last year. So, I guess I'm kind of making up for that this year. That's why I have him at 9. But I feel like that's a fair placement. And speaking of fair placement, number 8 is Damian Lillard. Kind of the same situation with Kyrie, right? He's injured at the moment. But he did great before he got injured. If you like focus on the regular season, because clearly he was kind of injured during the playoffs, so he couldn't really play that well. Either way, Damian Lillard did have a really good season last year. Like, it was even better than his first season with the Bucks. He averaged pretty good numbers. Let me double check. What did he average? Uh, like 25 points per game, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Those are great stats. Unfortunately, he did get injured. He is getting older too, so I don't see him being as great as he was this past season moving forward, like in 2 years from now. But I hope so. I want the best for Dame. So, um, yeah. Even though part of me feels like this might be the last time I have him in my top 15 point guards list, uh, he deserves some love. So that's why I have him at 8. At number 7, I have Trey Young. I kind of want to put him higher, but I'll stick with 7. I think ultimately why I have him at 7 and not 6 is because of the lack of defense, and he did step back a little bit last year, mostly because his other teammates were getting a bit more involved offensively, especially Jalen Johnson, who could have been an all-star last year but got injured. And other players did like step up, who's the Great Barrier Thief? What's his name again? Daniel Dyson.
Uh, Dyson Daniels.
Dyson Daniels. I mixed up the names, but Dyson Daniels contributed quite a bit, not only offensively but a lot defensively. Uh, who's their rookie? Risache? No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Uh,
Risache, yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty decent as well. So, because the other players were doing better, Trey Young didn't have to score as much, even though he was definitely the best scorer on the team. So his stats are not as great as before, and obviously the defense is lacking. But he's still a great player, so that's why he's at 6. And then at 5, no, Trey Young is at 7. Cade is at 6, right outside of the top 5. And yeah, he had an amazing, superstar leap last year, even though, um, I wouldn't have considered him as a improved player last year. I was pretty against that. He did make a significant leap last year and helped lead the Detroit Pistons to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. He is a great scorer, decent defender, great, I guess, playmaker. Kind of like he gets his assists, but he gets a lot of turnovers as well. So that's why part of me feels like maybe he should be lower than Trey Young. But Trey Young has his issues too, so I'm gonna keep it like this. Cade at 6. He does get a lot of turnovers, but he's young. He's just getting better, and I'm sure next season, he'll continue to improve on his game. So, is there anything you want to say about this portion of my list?
I would say, based on the criteria that you went with, nothing too crazy, because I feel like if Dame and Kyrie were healthy, then they would definitely be practically in this range. So yeah, I think that the main difference was like the way of judging like how I think the players will potentially do this season, or like how much they'll play, that like really obviously prevented me from having these guys on the list. But like if we're talking talent wise, then for sure both Dame and Kyrie are easily on this list. Aside from that, Trey, pretty close range to you. Cade, I have pretty close to. Spoiler alert. He's soon, but pretty close to where you put him. And then Darius Garland, obviously I have him on my list just a little bit lower than you, but really good second option for the Cavs. I could see him being put in the top 10. So overall, I would say not a bad set.
All right, yeah. Like all of the players that we've talked about are like the same, so it makes sense that like there's not too many discrepancies or too many arguments here. We have them in similar ranges for sure. So I guess this is a good time to reveal our top five. Um, and yeah, I guess we could do that. Uh, I think it's interesting that you have a certain player that I have in mind in the top five, but then again, I didn't have him too far off of the top five. But yeah, okay, you did what I did, and I hated doing it, so we both accepted it. But okay, you want to reveal your top five, and then we'll go over.
Yeah. So number 5, I got Cade Cunningham. Number 4, I got Steph Curry. Number 3, I got Jalen Brunson. Number 2, Luka Doncic. And at number 1, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
And for me, I got at number five Tyrese Halliburton, number four Jalen Brunson, number three Stephen Curry, number two Luka Doncic, and number one Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. So, I guess two things on my part. Like I think it's interesting having Cade in the top five, even though like I literally have him at six, so it's not even like the biggest deal whatsoever. But saying Cade Cunningham top five point guard is kind of insane to me. But again, I wasn't far off, and you had your own like criteria due to injured players, so I understand that part for sure. Um, the second thing, you did the thing I hated to do, but like I the thing that I didn't want to do, but I knew I had to do, which is putting SGA over Luca. That broke my heart a little bit. I didn't want to do it. There's You can't convince me Luca is a better player, but at the moment, I will say SGA is better than Luca. Just all time, no, no, I wouldn't
Oh,
say
for
that is
sure
the
not.
case. And then our only other difference for sure is that you have Jalen Brunson over Steph, which is very interesting. So I'll have you talk about your list, and then we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, so Cade Cunningham, obviously, last season he had a pretty good year, was able to be illustrious in the Pistons. Crazy turnaround going from the more than tripling their win from the previous season. Very impressive. And yeah, that was definitely very cool to witness. And Cade was one of the main reasons. I could, I definitely could see like saying that Cade being a top 5 point guard sounds strange, even though like 6 is not much lower. um, then again, like if Tyrese was healthy, then like Cade would be knocked down. So I would be having him at 6 also, honestly. But yeah, I would say Cade, he'll probably only get better, honestly. Now that he has a year of playoff experience, let's see. Hopefully, Pistons build on the momentum. They make it again this year, and then he'll just keep on getting better. And then ultimately, maybe he'll have a chance if the team gets better to contend down the road. We'll see. Um, but for now, I would say playoff contender, and a large reason is due to Cade. Um, Number 4, Steph. So I think that Steph easily like still very efficient player, still elite shooting, and without him, we saw the Warriors. They were not able to do much. Even with Jimmy, who's usually illustriously good in the playoffs, he just didn't really have the same mojo this year with the Warriors. With Steph, it'd be a completely different story. Um, his impact is just so remarkable. And then obviously, like Steph, the obviously debate between him and Magic for top point guard in NBA history is a common debate. So, yeah, Steph is easily still top 5 point guard in the league. Jalen Brunson. So I could see like between Steph and Jalen, it was a little bit of a back and forth for me. But ultimately, I put Jalen higher just because younger. his crunch time was also really damn good. So that definitely um, boosted him here for sure. And I think that Jalen Brunson is like a pretty good fit for obviously like New York spotlight, embracing the role and doing pretty good. So ultimately, I felt like he was definitely a little bit of a debate between him and Steph. I just put him higher due to youth. Um, Number two, Luca. So I think what you said for sure. Like we're talking all time, Luca's better than SGA. Right now, this moment, it just seems like SGA is the best um, point guard in the league right now. And I will say this: now that Luca has slimmed down in the summer and gotten back into shape, who maybe he will regain the number one throne. So I think this is definitely a 1A, 1B situation. For now, though, Luca number two, Shea number one, I think will be the way we just have to see it as. Um, but yeah, I would say that would be my top five. Some challenging decisions and some that were, I guess, not the most challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was for sure the most challenging decision for me throughout the entire list, having Luca under SGA. Like, I know he has a chip, Finals MVP now, but Luca's been at it old for longer, and he's had it worse. So, uh, like, I don't, yeah, I don't consider Shea as a better player all time than Luca. Luca's for sure still a better player, just not at the moment. Um, but we'll see this upcoming season. Maybe Luca will come back torching the league. At least I hope so as a Lakers fan now. Um, and yeah, just wanted to double check. So you had Jalen Brunson over Steph mostly because of the age?
I would say age and his clutch gene.
Okay. Okay, I could see that. I still consider Steph a better point guard. Um, because I find that like Steph is still the best shooter in the league, right? He even though he's older now, nobody will dare leave that man open whatsoever. So, because of that, and I want to say Steph is a far better defender than Jalen Brunson, but Brunson's a cone. Uh, his defense has hurt the Knicks a few times throughout the season, throughout the playoffs. So that's not good. So because I think Steph is better offensively and slightly better defensively, I have him over Brunson, who is at four. And I was actually debating whether to have Tyrese over Brunson. I really was thinking about that because of how amazing Tyrese ended off his season, almost winning it all in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, he got injured, obviously, but if he got it done, hell, I might have put him at one just for the hell of it. But yeah, Tyrese is at my number 5 placement, mostly because his scoring isn't consistent whatsoever, and I know that's not his number one job. His number one job is to facilitate to his teammates and get the entire team going. That's how they won a lot of games last year, a lot of series last year, is by getting other players involved in that fast, high pace offense they have over there in Indiana. Um, but it would be nice if he averaged like 20 consistently, right? Instead of having like a 25-point game and then an 8-point game and then a 7-point game and then the 18-point game. That part did annoy me, and his defense isn't the best either. But he is a true leader, a great offensive engine, the nucleus of the offense, if you will, just the powerhouse, the guy that got everything going, that's what Tyrese was for the Pacers. And let's not forget that man had one of the clutchest postseasons of all time, like maybe ever, honestly, just because he was able to have a clutch moment in every single series he played in. All four series, all four, he hit a clutch shot. It's probably not going to happen ever again. Like, I highly doubt that will be the case. So, there's an argument for Tyrese to be higher, honestly. But again, the lack of consistent scoring has him at 5 for me. For Brunson, one of the best scorers in the league for sure. But, I just talked about how his defense definitely hurts the Knicks. But yeah, like that guy's a bulldog. He can figure out how to score no matter what. So shout out to him. And he did have some pretty clutch shots, including in the playoffs. So that's very cool. But again, I have Steph over him because I find that I think he's better than Brunson in multiple aspects of the game, offensively, defensively, playmaking. Um, yeah, until Jalen Brunson becomes a better scorer than Steph, uh, that's when my mind will probably change. But at the moment, Steph I think is still a better scorer. And then yeah, number two has to be Luca, even though he should be number one. He's number one in my heart. He's number one in my heart, but number two on this list. You know, the biggest reason he's at number two, if we're being real, is because he got injured. Because of the injury that caused him to be out of shape a bit, and then also, he got traded from the Dallas Mavericks, a team that we all thought that he was gonna stay there forever, get his statue, his jersey retired, win championships for Dallas, but he got traded by Nico's dumbass, and now is on our team, which is awesome. Happy to that is the case, but for Luca's legacy's sake, it did hurt him a little bit because with all these things going on, he wasn't able to have the most consistent season, and was and also because of the injuries, a lot of things that would have happened, like him being an All NBA player, him being an All Star, stuff like that didn't end up happening because of that, because of the injuries, because of the trade, and because he had to bounce back from those injuries and was inconsistent for a little bit. So that's why he's at number two, and number one is Shea because he was able to have a really, really good season. He was the points per game leader, MVP, Finals MVP, won a chip for OKC. So obviously he has the what's the word? The biggest argument on why he should be at number one. There's no other argument I could throw out there in order to take him down. So that's why I have him at number one. But mark my words, Luka Doncic is gonna come back firing from all cylinders and will take that number one spot away from Shea. I promise you that. But that's it. Anything you want to mention from my list? I know it's pretty similar, but you know.
Honestly, not too much. I think that a lot of the stuff you said was very valid, and my list was similar. And regarding Tyrese, obviously, legendary playoff run, definitely would make him easily on this list. Obviously, my criteria being different due to the injuries part of it was why I didn't have him. But we're talking about talent itself or all healthy, for sure. He's easily in the top 5 for me as well. But yeah, I would say overall, this list obviously had its tricky parts to it. Like, for example, towards the end of the list, you're thinking who should we pick number 15? Or or ranking certain guys in order and saying which guys should be ahead of who. Also a little bit tricky there. But for the most part, I would say these episodes are always pretty fun to make because it makes you get creative with the mind, shall I say, and how you should rank these players in order. So overall, I would say it was pretty cool, and we will keep the series going. So definitely stay tuned and look forward to that one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I did have a question, one more question before we do like our little recap. I'm not gonna have you do this for all players, but just for Tyrese Halliburton, what ranking would you put him if you were to put him in your list?
I would say probably 4 or 5, probably.
4 or 5, so possibly over Steph.
I would say possibly over Steph due to youth, honestly.
Okay,
Um, Now, if you're asking who would I rather have on my team, that's a tricky question because, like,
that is tricky.
maybe, yeah, maybe Steph due to the veteran presence, but at the same time, like Tyrese is younger. Also, just had a legendary playoff run. I would take either of them, honestly. So yeah, I would say probably I would put Tyrese in like the 4 or 5 range if healthy.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, I still wonder why you had him at 3 last year. And now you have him lower, even though he debatably got better.
Yeah, well, I guess last year I was fanboying rightfully, and this year I want to do that, but just because I didn't think that he's probably not going to play this year, so I did it based on like players who probably will be seeing the floor a good amount.
Yeah, if you guys take anything from this episode, just know Hoops has grown. He has grown as a person. He's maturing. All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's do our recap. So, Hoops, who are your top 15 NBA point guards going into this season?
So at number 15, I got Kobe White. Number 14, I got Kyrie Irving. Number 13, Jamal Murray. 12, Darius Garland. 11, LaMelo Ball. 10, Tyrese Maxey. 9, De'Aaron Fox. 8, James Harden. 7, John Morant. 6, Trey Young. 5, Cade Cunningham. 4, Steph Curry. 3, Jalen Brunson. 2, Luka Doncic. And at number 1, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
For me, at number 15, I have Tyrese Maxey, 14, John Moran, 13, Jamal Murray, uh, 12, De'Aaron Fox, 11, James Harden, 10, Darius Garland, 9, Kyrie Irving, 8, Damian Lillard, 7, Trey Young, 6, Cade Cunningham, 5, Tyrese Halliburton, 4, Jalen Brunson, 3, Stephen Curry, 2, Luka Doncic, and number 1, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Those are our top 15 NBA point guards going into the 2025-2026 season. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. It was a fun one for sure. Great conversations here. Let us know who had the better list, who had the worst takes. But yeah, expect a ranking next week where we're ranking top 15 shooting guards in the NBA. That should be fun. A lot more interesting because like the point guard position is stacked. So try to figure it out for the shooting guard, which isn't as stacked, is gonna be interesting. We're gonna have some interesting names popping up in our conversations next week. But yeah, anything you want to say before we head out?
Pretty much just mirroring what Memo said. We will be continuing this series, so stay tuned if you like this episode. Per usual, thank you guys for the constant support for our channel. We greatly appreciate it. If you guys like our content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, follow us on all platforms, and stay tuned for the next few episodes, continuing this series. And then, as we are quickly approaching the start of the season, exciting times. So stay tuned and look forward to everything. Until next week, hope you guys have a great day, evening, and rest of your week.
Yeah, take care, everybody. We'll see you all next week. Good. Bye.